She knew him, yeah.
But she talked of him often, and he was really very respected.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Very much so. Let's see. And would you go through the locks after it was completed to watch the boats going through? That must have been some sight to see some of these boats moving through the Sound.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they would line up on the brink of the bridge there, and they never had fence or anything there.
Right.
You just stood right at the edge. Now they got it all fenced off, you know. I used to be nervous when I would stand there to see the boats go through because there was nothing to protect you.
It is funny to look at those old photographs because that would never be allowed now.
Oh,
they do have
no.
it gated.
And we had railings that was only one hand railing across them, and you weren't encased, and you had to go across with one railing. Oh, I didn't like that either. I don't know why they were so expensive that they couldn't afford to put them on, but there must have been a reason why.
And opening day was in 1917 when they had a big parade of boats coming through.
Yes.
And the USS Roosevelt, and President Roosevelt sent a telegram. Were you here that day?
No, I didn't go down and view it because I saw how hard those men worked, and I wasn't interested when the big wigs come to see it dedicated.
Right. Did your father go down there? Was this?
No, Daddy didn't go down either. None of us went down.
Right. It was just a job.
Yes.
To work down there.
Yes, but all the big wigs who came from D.C., you know, for the opening.
For the dedication. But you would go down there just on your own to watch?
Oh, yes, I would.
And was it very busy right from the start? Was there a lot of people going down there to watch and a lot of boats going through?
No, but there wasn't a lot.
No.
Mm-mm.
And do you remember, were they a lot of pleasure boats or canoeists or fishing boats?
Well, of course, they couldn't go through until the locks was completed, you know,
Right.
almost.
Right.
Because they had to close the gates and raise the water, and then when they got out, they lowered it again.
Right. And this was done just shortly after they did the Panama Canal. This was quite the accomplishment for the area. Do you remember the neighborhood talking about it? Your friends and classmates?
No.
It was just considered a regular occurrence.
Yes, but they sure worked.
Yeah.
Those darling men. Boy, I was only just a kid, but it hurt me the way they had to work.
Right.
And got so little, 2.5 a day and some things that the money was, they didn't have the money.
Mm. Yeah.
And they didn't have the implements either.
Right.
That they should have had, but they didn't make them.
Right. And over the years, would you make trips down to the locks? Would you go down to watch?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we'd go down to see how they were coming.
Yeah. It's a fun pastime to sit there and watch the boats going by and the
Yes.
different types of boats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you go down there for any of the other celebrations when they had the 25th or the 50th anniversary?
No, I didn't go.
That was just not important to you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't, because I saw how hard they worked.
Right.
And nobody knew but the ones that lived here, how hard they worked and what little they had to work with
Right.
to do the work they had to do.
Right. Well, tell me, in all your time here, did you ever go through the locks yourself on a boat?
No,
No.
I've never gone through the locks.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What about family members? Your father,
Well, my brother had a boat, launch, they call it a launch, and he took his friends down there, but of course, I was just a kid. I didn't fit in, you know. You don't go up with the older ones.
Right. obviously what's impressed you, your memories of the locks, was all the construction that went there, and of course your brothers worked there and your father worked there. Is that your single most memory of it, is the amount of work that went into building it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the things that they didn't have, they should have had to make it easier, but they weren't made, so they couldn't have them.
No, they couldn't. What were most of the people in Ballard working at that time? Were they fishermen or wood mills?
Well, the fishermen was the main ones here in Ballard when I came. And were they making the money?
Is that right?
Yes, they did.
Well, I imagine the locks affected them a great deal.
Yes.
It would have brought a lot of boats in and around the area here. Very good.
We that worked for a wage, they worked for a year for 3,000, and these fishermen on one trip up there came in with 3,000. So they were the kings, boy.
I think those were the glory days of fishing.
Yeah, yes, it
those days
was.
have gone by.
But it's fished out up in Alaska almost. However, there's good crabbing yet, I think. That's what my nephew did, and boy, he made the money on crabbing. He got pushed overboard, too, with one of the crab pots and got a broken shoulder, but they got him quick. You have to get them quick when they hit that cold water, or they're gone.
Yeah.
But they got my nephew real quick.
He's very lucky. I know quite a few fishermen, and they have their share of horror stories as well. As far as I know, there were no injuries down at the locks. I don't recall hearing about any of that.
See, I heard this, and I never knew. They found somebody, a dead person in the locks. I never ever heard that. Only recently, I don't even know who told me.
Actually, there were 2 cases, I believe, of that. Somebody was in their boat going through, and they discovered that there was a body in it. And somebody else, I think, drowned at the locks. But those were not during the construction.
No.
That was years afterwards, and at least one natural caused the other. Well, Rosetta, is there any other stories about the locks you'd like to share today?
Oh, no, can't think of anything.
Yeah?
That was the main thing here.
You
in
covered a bit of
Ballard,
territory. Right.
And then when the automobiles started coming, you could buy, we had friends, they'd buy a Ford, $500. They get cars. They sure are far from that now.
Very far from that.
It's not much it costs to gas up anymore.
But they had to be kind of wealthy to get the $500 ones.
Well, that would have been true if they're only making a few dollars a day.
Yeah, and that's it. The pay was lousy.
Yeah. But your father was happy working there.
Yes.
It was good for him.
Well, you know it. When he says stayed 33 years.
Well, if you could raise a family of 8 on one salary, I mean, you couldn't do that today.
Papa couldn't afford to change with 8 kids.
No. Well, I think we can close for today. And thank you, Rosetta, very, very much for the memories. And we will get back in touch with you, and we will talk again.
Okay.
Thanks.
And you weren't the one that done that to the screen.